Chaps, I'm Dan, and we've got one of the trustees called Steve in the videos and video that one. And we've got these three chaps. I've already forgotten the names. There's a John, James, and Ross.
Ross, yeah.
Challenge complete.
Mission complete.
Mission complete.
Right,
there we go. But these guys approached us on Instagram because it's weird because you just sent us no text or anything. You just sent us a picture of a football kit with our logo on it. I was like, what's this all about? And then started chatting, and I was just, there's something about you chaps. You basically started is it over 40s or around 40s football team for men? Is that right?
It's around 40s, yeah. It's not the kind of age is kind of important to us, but we're just a bunch of people, guys, similar sort of age, want to play football and get together and bit of exercise each week. But yeah, we've been going for sort of 2-3 years now. We just sort of took a little bit of a step recently and got a bit more serious with it and get some more kits. And we had an opportunity to put a sponsor on the front, and it just seemed crazy to put. We thought we'd just try and find a relevant charity that works for us and is relevant to our kind of group of guys. And you guys stood out. We kind of had a quick Google and came across you guys, and it seemed a really relevant place to start with to put your brand on our front of our tops, basically.
Thank you kindly.
Could I just very, very quickly, could I not use the term sponsor? The only reason being is because we're a charity, and there'll be that one funny sod who's like, why are you giving charity money to us? We don't pay you, do we?
Absolutely not. No. Other than that £2,000 cash that you walk around.
I thought it was 1,998.
Yeah, we give a little discount to you, that's fine.
But I had to have a cup of coffee on the delivery route.
Yeah, no, exactly that. But I think the thing is just after chatting to you guys, like you're quite vocal and you're really trying to push the whole mental health thing. And for some weird reason, we've been running MANUP for 3 years, football and mental health, they don't seem to associate whatsoever. I don't know what it is, but the way you guys are coming across, you're just like, there is a bit of a problem. We're not going to make a big issue of the problem. We just want people to talk and raise awareness in our own way. So just wanted a bit of a chat about that, really.
Yeah, I think to a certain extent, the football that we do is it's on a weekly basis, but you guys have been around longer than I have, but it's more of a get together, and it's not a massively competitive kind of environment. So it's a collection of people that some people know each other, some people don't, and there's lots of people that come in and out of it. And I think only over the last sort of 6 months, it's probably become a bit more organised. And then we've got the kit, and we thought about putting a name on the front of the kit. But I think your point's quite relevant in terms of especially more organised or professional type football. There's probably more of a problem in that, right? And it's only just starting to come about where some professional players are coming clean with the idea that they have been suffering from those sorts of issues. But it's relevant to us. It's relevant to me, I think, because there's a couple of people who I'm really close to have suffered from that sort of thing for quite a while. Some of them play it as well. And I think in general, there's a universal acceptance that hour that we have on a Thursday night during the week is really, really good for well-being. Insofar as it's a social thing, there's some exercise, there's generally a good group of people that we kind of meet together each week. And for a lot of people, it's a really good sort of highlight to get away from things and do something completely different.
Yeah,
it also gives the week a bit of focus as well. We can't start the proceedings with another WhatsApp group on a sort of Monday morning and kind of get hands up who's playing, that kind of stuff, and it kind of gives a bit of a routine to each week, and it gives a bit of a thing to think about, a bit of escapism. And we talk absolute rubbish on our various WhatsApp groups, but it all gets to Thursday night and we have a good old game of football, and occasionally we go out afterwards and have a little quick drink and catch up and stuff. And it's a good place to see what's going on, and you can kind of sense how people are feeling whilst playing football. If you get those weeks when people aren't a bit aggy, a bit aggressive and stuff, and you maybe, without getting too much detail, maybe sense that they are not quite right at the minute for whatever reason. And we're all going through it. We're generally early 40-year-old guys, generally with kids, generally with various degrees of dipping in and out of mental health issues, some more than others, but it seems to unfortunately be a relevant thing at the minute. It just seems to be a thing that 2-3 years ago maybe no one admitted was going on, but now it's here, it's there.
And maybe it's a case around the age of the people that are inputting into it, and you guys will know better than we do in terms of that age group where this tends to become more of a problem than other age groups. It could be something to do with that as well, in that we're all in and around. There's a few people that are younger, and there's a few people that are a bit older. I think there's one guy who might be approaching 50 odd, but the rest of us are all in that kind of mid 40s, early 40s sort of age group.
Yeah.
Where I get the sense from my personal experience, that's probably an area where this sort of thing tends to become more relevant or pertinent.
Well, let's say how it is really. That's when people tend to do the worst.
Yeah.
In this thing. So do you find, so how many, I know nothing about football. To me, if it hasn't got an engine, it's not a sport. In my opinion, I know Steve's more of like anything with 4 legs. He does husky racing, but anyway, I think, like, how many people on a football team? Like, how many people do you have in your team?
We have about 25 on a WhatsApp group, and on a Monday morning we all sort of say if we're available to play on the Thursday night, and we have anything from 6 to 9 aside, and we cap it out at 9 aside. Otherwise the pitch is a bit small, really.
Right, okay.
We get a good show out. We get about 7, 8, 9 aside pretty much every week.
Right, okay. Because I think where I was going with that, well, because obviously you deal with around the same age group. Do you find most people's problems are nearly the same? I don't want to say the same, because someone will start bitching, obviously. But do you find they're always the same relationship?
They have a common thread.
Yeah, that's what
I think there's a common thread which probably isn't widely known across everyone. So the group initially sort of set up, what was it, like 6 of us that got to like 10 of us that got to 15 of us, but it was different groups coming in. So there's some people we were playing with that we'd never met before, and I suppose we've got closer to them over the last 18 months. And I think within that there's pockets of probably deeper friendship. But if we were all really vocal about what was going on in all of our lives, there would actually be quite a few commonalities, I think. Definitely be some commonalities.
Yeah, there's a couple of guys that have, well, there's one guy particularly that's been diagnosed with a serious case of mental illness, which I won't go into detail, but then collectively there's a bunch of us that I would suggest, who knows really, but are going through the classic kind of like 40-year-old kids career, no time, pressures, that kind of stuff that will become something, could become something small or large, but we've all very similar stress in our life.
Yeah, they're pressures from above.
Yeah,
really, which you're kind of out of control of, or you feel out of control of.
Yeah.
So how did you get to this stage where actually you got, what, 20, 30 blokes are actually pretty open? How did you get to that stage? Because we run a mental health charity and we're not even there yet.
Well, do you know what? When we're not, this is the start of the process. I think I'd be lying if I said we all openly talk about everything at the minute. Yeah. We don't, but we're trying to, as kind of we loosely run this team. So with getting you guys on the front of our shirts and stuff, it's just another way of encouraging it, really, and being there for each other, I guess.
I think it happens in pockets.
Yeah.
But it's not, and like James said, it's an opportunity for the people that are in that particular group. If they have certain issues that they're not talking about and they maybe want to talk about it, that might help. But also perhaps there's a wider benefit for, there are other teams that are down there. So we play a training complex for the local professional team. So, when we play with the shirts on, they might see the logo, they might see what it is, they might look into it. And actually, that's a broader way of exposing it. And perhaps it might add to other people having conversations that are not even connected with the team.
Yeah.
Do you find, though, that you think that I mean, it's interesting that you say that you get these pockets, which I can fully understand that. Do you think that a lot of the guys are far more open now that they're playing with a bunch of blokes, I suppose, rather than, even if those guys, they see them on a fairly regularly weekly basis, but they're not true mates, as it were, really? But do you find that those people are still opening up and talking, even though they're not kind of, like best mates?
I think that's maybe one of the positives that comes out of this, because I think sometimes you're prepared to be more open with someone that perhaps you're not as close to.
Agreed.
For whatever reason, that you feel that you can talk about things which aren't as close to home, and they're not going to prejudge or have conceptions about it because you sort of feel that they don't know you as well as other people. So I think I think within the group, there's definitely some of those relationships forming that if you had asked us 18 months ago, oh, who's that person going to open up to, we would have got it completely wrong. Absolutely wrong. Yeah, I definitely feel that.
Yeah. I think if I can answer that question in my way, if I've got it wrong, I apologise. But when MANUP started to become an entity, I realised I was having less business or friends conversations. Everybody was talking to me about mental health. And I don't mean this how this sounds, but it was so many conversations about mental health and people telling me their deepest, darkest secrets. I was just like, someone just asked me how I am rather than and I couldn't work it out. I'm like, have I just suddenly turned into like the shrink of Ipswich? And then I can't remember who it was. Somebody said to me, he goes, Dan, what it is because you've just come out of the blue, being open about mental health. They know they can talk to you because they know that you won't judge them.
Yeah.
And it really is that in a nutshell, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think as well, we did cross through that kind of 2-year period of lockdown as well, which was obviously a time when mental health issues kind of were exaggerated massively. So we kind of, with that beautiful bit of time when we couldn't, in lockdown, when you couldn't do anything other than play sport outside. Yeah. Fortunately, we could get away with that. So we had those really kind of priceless weeks where it was generally lockdown, but we managed to get out together and play football together. And it was really at that point in lockdown.
It's quite a focal point at that point, wasn't it? It's quite like the thing of the week to do. And I think a lot of people actually still hold that as it's still true now.
And the weather was good. So everything there was well, joking aside, but at that point, guys have an excuse to go out. The weather's good, so they don't have an excuse to stay in, as it's pissing and rain, I can't be bothered to go, kind of thing. So I totally get your, it becomes a real focal point.
Well, it must be good for those who are married as well. My wife loves it when I bugger off on the motorbike.
I think collectively the
wives, benefits.
Well, they get to choose a TV on the Thursday night. They know that we're out of the house and they get to watch a sort of awful American kind of sitcom and watch a minute. So they love it, absolutely love it.
You've met Faye then, have you? And bloody Love Island, which will be coming back on pretty soon, wouldn't it? At the end of the day. So just how I'm thinking aloud, so apologise. So say for example, a newbie joined your team. How quickly does conversations revolve around mental health, or how quickly would they say something like, I don't know?
Or actually, do you even bring it to the fore, or do you just let it kind of, come in organically? I mean, it's not, you can say, have you got mental health problems? Come and talk to me. Nothing like that happens. It's a bit threatening, isn't it?
To James's point, I think it's developing. I think we've not done that before. We've not had an instance of that. But I think what we're doing now might actually create the antecedents where that can be a bit more possible than it was previously. The other thing I was thinking about, and this is slightly off topic, but I was thinking about it when I was driving over to Ross's house, is I guess collectively and historically, when you get a big group of lads meet up, it usually is in a pub or it involves alcohol, and that doesn't always necessarily work in terms of sharing and opening up and maybe moving away from that sort of behavior while you're in a pub. And this is completely different insofar as you get the same amount of people, it's blokes, so they feel like they can share, and it's in an environment that's alcohol free. And I don't know if that's relevant or not, but I was thinking that could be part of why it works for some people in that respect.
Yeah. Well, I think the thing is with alcohol, and I'm not scared to go to the pub with someone. I'm not anti-alcohol whatsoever. I think the thing is with alcohol, it gives people an opportunity to hide behind something.
Yeah.
And I guess I don't know. Say for example, me, and I've joked about this. When we did an event as MANUP, an event called ROI, mental health. And there was a running joke like, Dan, how many times are you going to run off to the toilet? Because obviously when my anxiety is getting a bit of a wobble, I'll run off to the toilet and hide in there for 10 minutes. And it's the same as a pub, isn't it? It's, oh, do you want a drink? I'll quickly go and get it, and then like faff around and talk. So I can avoid having that conversation. I think if you're on the side of a pitch, a football pitch, is that what they're called? If you're the grass, so if you're people can't get away. They can't really avoid it, can they? So they've kind of got to man up and talk about it.
Yeah, I think there's like the football pitch allows like these telltale signs as well, doesn't it? You know, we all know each other pretty well, that if someone's giving it a bit more than they were last week, sort of physically, aggressively, even just running around a bit more, it's a great way to let off steam anyway. But you can certainly, most weeks there's someone you feel there's something getting under their skin, and I think that allows for a conversation to start.
And I was thinking of a real example. There was one incident probably a couple of months ago where there was a bit of an altercation on the pitch, and it went on for a bit longer actually than normal, and then it petered out a bit. But actually, the WhatsApp group that we've got that underpins the people that come to the football and how we organise it, there was some kind of there was a thread about that incident after the match, and I think it went on into the next day. And thinking about the two individuals, they did kind of express themselves and talk about what was going on at the time. I seem to remember it, and actually that's a really good example of those two people opening up. And in football, you tend to, even with your best mate, even last week, I remember Sam kicked me and we had an altercation on the pitch, but then afterwards it's fine.
Did a really, really bad tackle.
It was a great tackle. So I think the WhatsApp group as well really helps, because it's a continuation of what happens on the pitch, and most of it is, like Ross said, it's about organising, it's about setting up the teams, but there is like a dialogue and a narrative on there that we touch on other subjects. In that particular example I'm thinking of, I think it probably helped the two individuals where they were able to express themselves and talk through. I guess
there's something in that, is in getting something down on paper, so to speak, and words that you can see is the same as talking it. It's out there then, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's out there.
Yeah,
I think
going back to those two individuals though, were they clashing before? I mean, was there a sort of a bit of a grudge there before, or was it just literally something that happened on the pitch and it just blew up into something that it really didn't need to be?
Yeah, exactly that. The latter, I think, from memory. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But then two frustrated guys, just banging heads, and both of them letting off steam at the same time.
Yeah.
Probably. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. But that's good they resolve, because I think I don't want to jump on the whole Will Smith. I think we all have scraps and rows every now and again, but it's I think we're in that dangerous ground. I don't think we've moved into it. I think it's always been there, where we focus on the actions. I don't know if me and Steve ended up lumping something, and that isn't right. There's no place for violence. There's my little disclaimer and all blah 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 and dodgy tackles, but it's more the point of actually why did that happen rather than what happened.
Yeah.
Because if you can't discuss why it happened in the first place, it's going to happen again.
Yeah.
Just in my personal, unless I've read that wrong, but it sounds like your guys, well done to them, actually snapped out of that very quickly and actually gone, this is why.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And I would say the group chat as well it feels more of a safer place to start a conversation, as opposed to going to start a direct message with someone or direct conversation with someone. It's a more of it just feels a safer, kind of easier route to talking, essentially, because it's out there and stuff. So
which outwardly you wouldn't think that would be.
No, I think so. Yeah,
something that would happen, but that's fantastic that's moved in that direction.
Yeah.
I think loads of people can learn from this. Do you think it's accountability?
What do you mean by that exactly?
Well, if you've got a WhatsApp group, if you've got like a WhatsApp group where you all have your little chats, is it if those two scrappers dealt with it away from the group, actually, do you think it would have dragged out longer? But because there's other people watching in your group, they're probably going to have to deal with it a little bit quicker because they're accountable to you guys. Am I making sense? I think I'll confuse myself.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I think there's something in that. I think there's definitely something in the whole. It's almost you get straight away, you're going to get different viewpoints on that situation. So however those two people saw it, there's going to be other people coming in going, no, it was like this, or there wasn't anything in it, and straight away, and that might make you think slightly differently. But I think there's probably what you're saying, I don't know, is there's definitely a want for people to get on with each other, a want to have these conversations, and therefore if there is any issue to kind of deal with it quite quickly and to move on to the next week. We're pretty good at leaving what's on the pitch, or certainly deal with it on WhatsApp pretty quickly, aren't we?
Yeah.
No, good on you. And I think it kind of eliminates that. You always get those odd person or that odd person where they're so focused on being right, they don't know that they're wrong.
Yeah.
And I think that by the sounds of it, that's where your WhatsApp thing kind of eliminates.
Eliminates.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think it definitely helps.
That one.
But it does, doesn't it? Because so I've been there where you can be a total prick, and you're like, no, it's them, and then once you start getting other people like, no, Dan, you're normally Steve, no, Dan, you were the prick.
You're being a dick.
Yeah, or that. Right. You don't need to keep turning, mate. Stuff like that. But so I don't know. I think it's just good to see. It really is good to see. So just before we draw to a bloody, we're flying through that.
Yeah, I've got one real quick one actually, just before we start to wrap up. If you were going to, if knowing what you know now, you were going to start it all up again, is there things that you do differently, or would you just let it pan out organically, kind of like you have already?
I don't think so. This was, I have to say, this was set up for a bunch of guys to play football, which then became this kind of focus of all kind of slight issues at the minute. But this is completely organic, and I wouldn't change anything, to be honest. It's nice. It's going this direction.
No, that's cool. That's really good.
I think if we tried to put in what we've got now 2 years ago, I think we'd have 5 people in the group, not 25.
Yeah. A lot of people would be scared away if we created a group that had mental health in the core of its kind of beliefs. So
if you tried to engineer it, it just wouldn't have worked. Yeah,
no, absolutely. So I think that leads on to the closed question, really. But I'm going to reword it. Word it as in, from time to time, we get people message the page like, I want to start up some sort of group, a walking group, a darts group. It doesn't matter. I think someone the other day said a darts group, and it always makes me laugh when they're just like, oh, do you mind if we like nick some ideas and start our own discussion group? Like they need our permission to set up something. It's like, no, the more the merrier. But if there was a bloke or group of blokes that they're on about setting up a football team, darts team, doesn't really matter what it is, with the same idea of what you've got, how would you tell them to get started?
Difficult question.
Book a pitch on a night and invite some people to play.
Yeah,
I think it's almost that simple, isn't it? And then, but I think one of the things we were really clear on right at the start was we didn't say no to anyone. Like John and I met through football. If through this, so if he had said, I've got 3 mates who want to come down on Thursday night, we'd like, go for it. More the merrier.
Yeah, I think that. Yeah, exactly that. I think we've been quite lucky because of that policy of inclusivity has included some top human beings, and because of that, that's added to the group. But I definitely agree with Ross on that. I think you've got to make it inclusive from that point of view, because you start creating rules and structure around who can do it, who can and who can't, all that sort of thing. It becomes a bit more. It becomes something that we're not looking to make it what it is at the moment. If that makes sense.
No, that does. So what I'm going to do then, just for a thing, is I'm going to ask you the same question, but if it's all right, like the ending of every video, we will say if somebody's watching and saying they can relate, blah 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 blah, what would they do in that circumstance? But we've only mostly spoken about football, not really hit a topic as such, and that's cool. It's a bit different. But if there's a bloke, it doesn't matter about the gender, but if somebody's watching this and they're having a bit of a wobble, they're feeling quite alone or anything like that. James, what would you tell them to? What would you say for them to do?
Well, I mean, focus. I mean, this football gives me a focus each week. It gives me that I know I can chat with these guys throughout the week and with organising it and getting it together. And I know that the run up to Thursday is an exciting time. And Thursday night we kick the ball around, and because of the physical and kind of mental kind of offload, it's a great. It's almost like the end of a week almost, and it's Friday the next day. It's a good kind of it's a good place to be on a Friday morning. You wake up with achy legs, but your head is clear and it's good. So I think routine is a kind of the easy answer for me. Just something that you enjoy doing in your life each week.
James, no, done. James, John.
What would I say? I'd say take comfort in the fact that you're not on your own. There's lots of people who are experiencing a very, very similar thing to what you're experiencing. And I would say open up and talk to people, because you're going to find that that's going to help. And being brave is not about bottling it up and trying to deal with it on your own. Being brave is actually being open and talking to people and sharing your experiences, because you might help yourself, but at the same time you might help someone else by talking about what you're going through at the same time.
That's a bloody valid point.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah.
I say there was a video with Amy, and it's all stuck with me, where she said if somebody doesn't tell her, if she can see somebody's having a wobble and they don't talk to her about it, it doesn't mean to be full blown. When they don't talk to her about it, it makes her feel like they don't trust her.
Yeah.
And it takes that her ability away to be an ear and just someone to listen to. And that's all stuck with me, that, because it's absolutely bang on. So who's the last one? Ross, what about you, Ross?
Yeah, I was thinking very similar to John. I think there's probably just a slight build on it, is like, don't be afraid to just talk to anyone, like ask anything, because I think people are going through a similar situation but may not want to talk about it. And I think if you talk about it, that might get them to talk about it. And I suppose going on from that is just simply asking, how are you? But saying it with meaning, like, how are you? I'm actually going to listen to your response, because even when people say, yeah, I'm fine, the way they say I'm fine will tell you what's going on in their mind pretty quickly, won't it? So I think ask the question.
But more to the point, I suppose, listen to the answer.
Listen to the answer.
I think that's the main thing. Because funny enough, where was I? I think I was in a restaurant. I was in Italy. I was in a restaurant, so it would have been Italy. And I remember that listening to this American couple, and this wife was like saying to the husband, was like, "Oh, what's wrong with you?" And it's one of those things where I'm just like trying not to move into man up mode. I'm there as a husband. That is it. And I was like earwigging. It's like, "What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you?" But every time he was replying, she was picking up her phone. It's just like, no. Don't do that, love. I didn't step in.
You want to know, but you don't really want to know.
Don't ask a question if you're not truly willing to listen to what the answer is. In my personal opinion. But so if anyone wanted to join your football team or come along or whatever, how would one be able to do that if they could?
Get in touch with James.
With James. Find us on Instagram now, apparently.
That's it. Yeah. Well, I mean, we're based in Stamford, Lincolnshire, so anyone of any age is more than welcome. Just find me. I think we're going to be on Instagram.
I think we are.
We've just started on Instagram, so we will have an Instagram profile shortly, and it would be called something like, our team is called Board de Villarreal. Which sounds ridiculous, but
you might as well spell that, mate.
Well, I'll pass the rock to spell that.
What is it? BORDERARREAL. I don't know. Find us on Instagram somewhere.
Do you know what? If you can get that profile set up by say like Thursday, something like that, send us a message. We'll follow you, and I'll just tag that because I can't be.
We can just tag it. Put a link in it.
I'll just do it that way. But no, we're going to call that a draw. Then that was a really good call, so I appreciate that. Let me just hit that end record button. Bear me 1 second. Where's that bloody record button?